Champlain Valley Sports Nation Audio Vault, powered by Advanced Welding Institute. Now starting new classes monthly. Learn more at awi.edu. Champlain Valley Game Night.
Lake Monsters baseball coming up on 960 The Zone. We go up until 7 o'clock on 101.3 ESPN. Champlain Valley Game Night simulcast on 101.3 ESPN and 960 The Zone. At 7 o'clock, it's Patriots football on 101.3 ESPN. The preseason opener between the Patriots and the Packers on 98.5 The Sports Hub, Patriots Radio Network. Right now, time for local spotlight on Game Night, bringing on David Ball, who's a former Shrine Game participant in addition to all of his other athletic accomplishments as a football player here locally from Vermont. David Ball joining us on Game Night on the TikTok Jewelers guest line. David, thank you so much for taking a few minutes here to join us. And first of all, as we're talking about this great new documentary, Heroes, a Shrine Maple Sugar Bowl documentary. What was I know you were featured briefly in the documentary. What did you think of the piece put together by Mount Mansfield Media and how that reflected upon everything that goes on an annual basis at the Shrine Maple Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, AJ. I thought, when the crew came down, Jake and Kyle, and they interviewed me here, at my home. I thought they did a great job, very, very professional job. And then when I saw the finished product, I was looking at it, and I was talking with Tony, who was another part of the crew, periodically over the past few months, just kind of waiting on the finished piece. And then I saw it last week and was thoroughly impressed with what they were able to do with, getting so many people involved from the Twin State area. So, I was impressed with it, and I've been following the game for years, ever since I've been in it. And it was definitely a staple in my high school career. One of the things that I remember most about my high school athletic career was participating in that very game.
What are some of those memories, if you want to go into some specifics just from your time in the game? Number one, getting to play in a really cool all-star game, but also getting to visit the children in the hospitals, in the Shriners Hospital. What's your memories of being involved in the game?
Well, that's the thing, AJ. As one of, I think it's like 36 to 40 kids that get to play in the game, you're representing your state. You go there with 2 or 3 a day practices, and you're thinking it's all about business, it's all about football. Typically you're defined by your community as a standout athlete. You're known as an athlete. You go to this thing not really realizing the impact that Saturday or Sunday, whatever day you end up taking that trip to the hospital, is going to have on you. And I remember vividly thinking I was there for football. That's what I thought. Those practices, the heat, August temperatures, and then when I went in with all my teammates into the hospital, I quickly realized why I was really there. And I would say that the memories I cherish the most from that game were the memories with those kids, and just having an opportunity to brighten up their day. You walk in there, they're ready and waiting for you to sign something. Makes you feel good, and it makes those kids feel good for that moment in time where they can just kind of step away from what they're dealing with for a moment.
We're talking with David Ball, former NFL wide receiver, played at Spalding in high school, played at UNH in college, and was a member of the Shrine Game here on Champlain Valley Game Night. And I learned a lot from watching this film, and you can see the film in a couple of different places online. MapleSugarBowl.com is one of them, and I watched the video there, and I realized it really speaks to some of the current problems, David, and I wonder if you wanted to comment on this, some of the current problems in our country right now that have been there for a while at this point, about just the insurance industry and how people that are most in need for financial or medical reasons of getting that monetary help to just for any medical problems, but especially for when you have young children with medical issues, those people are often the least likely or least able to get that help that they need. And that's why the Shriners are so important.
Absolutely. I think, it's an enormous problem right now in our country. I think the almighty dollar at times seems to run stuff, and I think that's a topic for another day. But ultimately, here in Vermont, as a professional athlete, I've had an opportunity to be a part of some amazing causes. When I get to come back home, like this one, Shrine Maple Sugar Bowl documentary, Camp Tecumseh, as well as the Travis Roy Foundation wiffle ball game. Those are all things I've been able to be a part of. And they don't happen at all without the donations, without the sponsors, the people who really make sure this stuff gets funded and everybody has what they need. The people who are in need get what they need. For this particular piece, I know White River Toyota, kind of footed the bill for making sure that everything was done up to par. And the final product should be something that they're very proud of, having their name on, and it's local businesses like that and the people who donate that really make this stuff happen when we struggle, realizing that the most important thing is making sure people get what they need.
You can also watch this excellent Shrine Maple Sugar Bowl documentary online at whiterivertoyota.com/Shriners. I'm wondering, David, if you have a special appreciation as well for this game. I mean, given your connection to both states in the game, having played for UNH in college, so your connection to that state, and then also representing Vermont in the game, playing at Spalding High School for your high school ball. Are you a person who probably even more than the average participant feels an interesting connection to this game, given your background in both of those states?
Absolutely. Looking at the documentary itself, I had my college football coach on there, Coach Mack, to reference Chip Kelly in a few spots and his climb to the top as the Eagles head coach and his roots in New Hampshire. My good friend, Muji Kareem, was featured on there, who's a Vermont native, but also was a teammate of mine at the University of New Hampshire. Being a captain of the team myself in 2002 and a resident of the state, but then going on to an All-American career to our neighbor over there in New Hampshire, it definitely gives me an interesting, perspective. And not too many people call both places home, but, I have the ability to do that. When I'm in New Hampshire, the Seacoast specifically, where I spent years of my life, it feels like home. And when I'm back here in Vermont, it feels like home everywhere I go, southern, northern, and central where I'm from.
Couple more questions for you, David, and we're joined by David Ball right now on Game Night. I'm going to ask you, I wanted to get a couple of your thoughts on some current NFL news items, and I'm glad you brought up Chip Kelly there. Your reaction to some of the flack that he has caught this offseason. You heard about some players accusing him of being a racist, and just at least some thoughts that I think probably have a little bit more validity than that, some sort of the sentiment that he needs to make this adjustment to pro ball, and that you got to treat NFL players slightly differently than you treat college football players. I wonder what you think of that one as somebody who played both at the college level and in the NFL, and generally sort of the criticism that Kelly is facing right now. And do you think he'll be able to bounce back?
When you're a head coach of any professional sport, you're going to get criticism. And, he's new on the scene there. His climb was so very quick from an offensive coordinator at the University of New Hampshire to a head coach in Philadelphia, that there's going to be some people who don't believe that, he can hang around continuing to do what he's doing. But all he's really doing, in my opinion, is he wants specific pieces in place for his system, which has proven to work over countless years, year in and year out at each level. And I think, he's pursuing another double-digit win season. He's got 2 under his belt. If it's not broke, don't try to fix it. And all he's trying to do is make sure that his team is in the best position to win games. So I'm biased and partial to the man because, we have a close relationship. But, that's how I see it. And you're going to get backlash in a top position and in a role as he is regardless, and naysayers. But, I don't think it bothers him. I don't think there's any bounce back needed. I don't think he thinks too much about it, and he just goes about his business, which is putting the best team he can on the field to win as many games as possible and put them in a situation where they can be there down the stretch.
Finally, as a guy who hung around in football at various levels for several years, including in the NFL, after being undrafted, what's your advice to people as preseason games are getting underway this time of year? Your advice to guys who are just entering the NFL. What's this battle like this time of year for guys who are just trying to make the back end of the rosters? And if you had to reflect on your experiences in that type of situation, what's the most important things for players who are battling for roster spots to do?
Well, when you get to that level, you're in a situation where you're going to be told to do a lot of different things by a lot of different people. You're going to have your agents, your various coaches, your head coach. You're going to have new teammates. And I think it's really important to understand the value of staying true to yourself and your skills and what you believe are your best skills that got you in the position you're in, and really, really trust that. I think that, for myself, that's what I was able to do. I bounced around a ton, but I never left a franchise with any regrets. Not getting on the field as much as I wanted wasn't, that didn't sit well with me, but, that was out of my control. So control what you can control, focus on the things that got you there and stay true to that. And I think, some of these young players are going to have a real strong opportunity to make an impact. You see it every single season. You see it every single season, so it's nice to watch these young guys go.
Undrafted Malcolm Butler had the game-winning pick for the Patriots, which everybody knows at this point in the Super Bowl last year, and now will play a key role this year as one local shining example of that, or regional shining example of that for Patriots fans. David Ball, thank you so much for the time. You can watch David Ball in Heroes, a Shrine Maple Sugar Bowl documentary available at maplesugarbowl.com or whiterivertoyota.com/Shriners. David, thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, AJ.
That is David Ball joining us on the TikTok Jewelers guest line on Champlain Valley game night. One of the great examples of a Vermont athlete who went on to have so much success. And you can tell with his relationship to this game and him talking about the values of the Shrine game, how well he has represented Vermont as a role model and as a public figure in this community, as a guy who went on to be an athlete in the National Football League. Coming up next on 960 The Zone, Vermont Lake Monsters baseball with George Como on the call. Champlain Valley game night continues after this on 101.3 ESPN with a preview of the games tonight.